Welcome to my truest descent into madness. You've seen me do a few video essays at this point, in particular from things that I cosplay from, but somehow I've never got around to tackling Arcane, despite my rampant love and admiration for the show. Because I knew when I finally did, it would result in a video that's this long. Arcane Season 2 came out in November last year, and I have put off rewatching it for an entire year. Because when I watched it initially, I enjoyed it. I wept over the tragedies, I was engaged in the fight scenes, and I got to watch the show that I love so dearly come to its epic conclusion. But upon reflection, there was a lot of really disappointing moments in there, especially in regards to some of the character arcs. I knew one day I would finally get around to really unpacking it for myself, and it turns out today is that day. We're going to be focusing on just the one topic today, but we are going to talk about the part that probably disappointed me the most. Today I want to look at Jinx's character arc across both seasons 1 and 2, and how season 2 really failed her arc. This will be a recap of all Jinx's key moments throughout the entire show, with a visual aid on her arc and the smoothness of season 1 and the mess of season 2. It was so difficult to talk just about this topic. There are a handful of tangents in here as well. Now, I would also like to note that upon rewatching it, I decided that Jinx's character arc is not the worst one. Caitlyn and Vi's arcs were horrendous. So if you think I'm being a hater in this video, you have no idea the depths of how hard I could go. If you are interested in more further Arcane video essays, please let me know. I am just a little YouTube channel over here, and videos like these take a lot of time and a lot of energy. They are made out of passion, but any little like on the video, a nice little comment, or watching more of my Arcane content after this really helps out a lot. Some things I'm going to be discussing in this video are going to be things that are mostly my opinion or my personal interpretations of this character. You are so welcome to disagree with me or have your own opinions on these things. I do really love reading other people's discussions in the comments when they come up with things that I didn't, so feel free to leave opinions in the comments. Just remember to keep it respectful and productive. And with that, it is time to draw on the walls. Ta-da! I really wanted to add a visual element to this video because I think it would be really cool to visually map out some sort of arc. Mapping out a character arc is really difficult. Plot arcs, you follow like your climax, resolution, etc. But characters aren't exactly black and white in how they should be mapped out. So let me explain what I've landed on. In this section here, we have our graph. This is going to be graphing out Jinx's emotional state throughout the show. This middle line that we have here is conflict, her inner conflictions. Going down, we have pessimistic, negative, and rock bottom. And moving upwards from confliction, we have optimistic and positive. Rock bottom was an important addition to this chart. I did get this idea of charting from Abby Emmons, so I will link the chart that she used below. Because Jinx doesn't necessarily have a growth, there's not really an end goal the character is working towards, so I couldn't really map out a character arc in terms of growth or progression, so I think mapping the emotional state was the only way I could really visually think to do it. Also in here we have all the acts. As I'm going to be summarizing and recapping, we are going to be doing a review at the end of each arc of the show. Remember, Arcane, both seasons 1 and 2 are 9 episodes broken into 3 acts, 3 episodes per act. Season 1 is all down here, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and Season 2 is here, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And I will be adding to this as we go so we can keep track and refer back to all our moments. To understand Jinx, you first must understand Powder. The opening scene of Arcane is Vi and Powder walking across the bridge between Piltover and the Undercity in the aftermath of a violent fight. The important thing to note about this cold open is that it is actually shown from Powder's perspective. We know this by some of the stylistic choices we will soon become familiar with. On the close-ups of the enforcers, there are flashes of childlike drawings of monsters over their faces. This is violence through Powder's eyes. Powder covers her eyes and follows her sister, singing the lullaby, Dear Friend, across the river. There are 3 key characters in the scene who we will be following closely through the first act: Vi, Powder, and Vander. Vander's response to this violence is to drop his gauntlets. The grief on these children's faces enough to make him give up the fight. He sees the price of war and decides it's not a price he's willing to pay. Vi looks at the enforcers walking away and narrows her eyes, clenches her fists. Her response to the violence is a desire for justice and vengeance. Powder's response to the violence is to cover it up. She covers over everything with her monsters, making up her own fantasy. I have an interpretation of Powder that I'm not sure everyone will agree with, but I want to argue my case by showing this little habit of hers. Powder always looks to Vi to see how to react. Upon seeing their dead parents, Powder looks away and looks to Vi. Vi breaks down into tears. It is only when Vi falls to the floor that Powder clings to her sister and begins to cry too. It's almost like Powder is more upset that her sister is breaking down than she is that her parents are dead. Yes, younger siblings will always look to the older sibling for guidance, but I think Powder tends to lack her own empathy and instead waits to see how everyone else reacts. I wish I had time to go into how incredible of an opening scene this is, but that is literally an entire other video. And now we are in the time skip with the gang all grown up. We see Vi, Powder, Milo and Clagger venturing into Piltover to rob them. As they look out on the city, Powder sees the flying balloons and comments, "One day I'm going to ride in one of those." We're bookmarking this for later. While the other 3 parkour across the rooftops with no troubles, Powder hesitates, clearly scared. Vi encourages her by reminding her she's ready. In Jace's apartment, it becomes clear that while Powder isn't physically strong like the other characters, she is intelligent and resourceful. While she pushes aside books, she can identify valuable objects and appears to be good with machines, pocketing gears for herself. Powder is drawn to the Arcane gemstones, pockets them, and ultimately causes the explosion that gets them caught. On their way back home from the Undercity, they run into a fight. This scene once again shows Powder's perspective. The fight slows down, showing close-ups of blood, spit, and pain. The music embraces this high-pitched violin. This gorgeous shot shows Powder cowering in the shadows while her siblings fight, under this almost heavenly rays of light. It's as if she's witnessing a world she cannot enter. Cornered by one of the thugs, she attempts to use one of her bombs, Mauser, to get away, but the bomb doesn't work. In defense, she tosses the bag of goods. Vi gives her a pass because at least she's safe, but Milo's clearly pissed, claiming that she jinxes every job. What an interesting thing to say. The gang are back home, goods lost. Vi comforts Powder after a rough day out on the rooftop, and Powder shares that she still has the gemstones. The episode ends with Vi vowing, "One day, this city is going to respect us." And that's what we see from Powder in episode 1. So let's fill in our first spot on the chart. I'm going to be mapping this based on where the character is at the end of each episode. I would say in the beginning, Powder definitely was pessimistic, but where we've left her, she is quite optimistic after her words with Vi. Let's give her a little blue sticker for episode 1 in optimistic. So we learn in episode 1 that she is a little scared and desperate to prove herself. On to episode 2. Episode 2 features a lot of back and forth cat and mouse between the gang and the enforcers. Vander's ultimatum with Grayson that someone must be handed in for the crime in Piltover still hangs in the balance. When the enforcers come to search the last drop to see if the kids are there, Vander hits this panic button that has a drawing from Powder on it, sending down one of her monkey toys to alert the kids to hide. I feel it's important to bring this up because it's an example that Powder is useful to the group. I also feel it's relevant to bring up Silco now. This little speech that he has with Deckard really shows what will eventually bring these 2 characters together. Power. Real power doesn't come from those who were born strongest, or fastest, or smartest. No, it comes to those who will do anything to achieve it. It's time to let the monster out. This is in very stark contrast to Vi's parting words to Powder. What makes you different makes you strong. Now we come to the owl love scene, the moment where Vi decides to hand herself in to protect her family. While Vi likely didn't tell the gang explicitly what she was doing, I do feel that Powder figured it out. Powder comes to sit at the bar of the last drop, with this sad look on her face and the bunny from Vi. Powder makes her a drink in her cup to try and cheer her up, but it doesn't work. Vander sees the bunny, Vi's toy, and interprets it as a parting gift. This is what tips him off to the fact of what Vi is doing and leads him to hand himself in instead. In my opinion, Powder purposely went to Vander in this moment to get him to stop Vi. There's nothing Powder can do in this situation. She's not strong enough to stop her sister, but who is the one other person in the family stronger than Vi? Vander. It's a really manipulative move to get what she wants, which is to keep her sister close to her, and I think it's really a moment foreshadowing of what she can become. With the potential loss of her sister in the threat, she's definitely moving down from optimistic. I'm going to put her down to pessimistic. I'll spoil it in advance. She's not going to be back up anywhere near optimistic for a while. And what did we learn further about Powder in this episode? I'm going to note down that she can potentially be manipulative and also that she is like attached to Vi. And now onto episode 3, where everything goes wrong. Benzo is dead. Silco has Vander. The stakes are high. Yet to Powder, the thing that really hurts is that she isn't coming along to the rescue mission. Vi snaps at her, says she's not ready. Vi explains that Powder is all she has left. She needs to know that Powder is safe. It's reasonable and logical, but from Powder's perspective, it's this abandonment, a betrayal. She's just been making nail bombs, desperate for a chance to fight and prove herself. I feel that Powder's coping mechanism for dealing with all the traumatic events happening around her is to ultimately block it out. Instead of feeling emotions towards things that are too big, Benzo's dead, Vander's kidnapped, her family's going to rescue them, she feels things that she can be more in control of by leaving. Vi herself is a coping mechanism for Powder. She really regulates her. And as we soon see, in this moment of tension without Vi there to help her, Powder just breaks. She begins to scream and cry, throwing things and hitting herself. She also throws the crystals, almost causing another explosion. But this leads to a realization. I can help them. Again in this scene, that high-pitched discordant violin plays. Here's the thing. Arcane's plot does not work around what should happen story-wise. It works around how would each of these characters react when put in this situation. Vander handing himself in? Terrible idea, the lanes would fall apart. But yet, he would do it because it's to protect his kids. In this scene, Powder going to help is not a good idea, but it's exactly what she would do. This is where Arcane's art of tragedy is really well showcased. Powder deploys a monkey bomb with a hextech crystal around its neck, causing an explosion that does take out Deckard, but also takes out Milo and Clagger. As the family suffers this terrible ordeal, Powder is blown back in this explosion of blue clouds. The soundtrack that plays here is the same as what played in the scene earlier where everyone is fighting around her. It's a really interesting callback. The key difference is that in the first instance, Powder was cowering in the corner, unable to join the fight. In this moment, she is front and center, welcomed into the world she previously couldn't enter. She is now capable of violence, but this violence has unfortunately spread to those she cared about. Vi discovers that it was Powder who caused the explosion. In a moment of anger, she slaps Powder, calls her a jinx. Milo was right. Vi is grieving the loss of 3 people, and she needs someone to take it out on, and that person is Powder. Powder is distraught too and needs that comfort that she seeks in Vi. Neither character is capable of being there for the other in this moment. Vi leaves, of course intending to come back, but is arrested by Marcus. Powder is discovered by Silco. Powder flings herself to him, needing a new safe place, a new protector. Powder claims she is not my sister anymore. Silco looks to Vander dead on the ground. He and Vander were once brothers too, betrayed by each other. He sees this child full of so much anger and spite and hate, and promises her, it's okay, we'll show them. we'll show them all. When Powder looks to the screen, the blue in her eyes looks more purple, a colour associated with Shimmer and thus Silco. Let's review our character arc for Season 1, Powder's arc. It's interesting because I'm mapping this graph based on how they are at the end of the episode, and it's really hard to tell how she feels in this moment with Silco. I'm going to put her down from pessimistic to negative though, because dare I say, she has a lot of negative emotions going on right now. So if we draw out where these dots are right now, we see a very smooth downward line. This poor child. What else did we learn about Powder in episode 3? Erratic, unpredictable. I would also say that she is grieving and abandoned. Episode 1, she is this scared little girl who goes from someone who's trying to be proactive and be more useful. These lead to her actions becoming more erratic, unpredictable, and ultimately cause a huge, huge loss for her. Essentially, she goes from Powder to Jinx. You know, I do love a downwards arc. I do love a villain arc, a descent into madness, and this line heading straight down is pretty indicative of where we're going. We are on episode 4, which means we officially are into Act 2. The way Jinx is introduced is really interesting. Before we see her drawings, her trap for the firelights. The trap firelights immediately say, it's her. She clearly is infamous. We then get our first look at her. And look, I could go on a tangent about the character design, but once again, whole other video. Jinx fights using gadgets, bombs, which explode in bright colours, and her oversized machine gun Pow Pow. Her fighting style represents a sort of mania. We then get our reminder that Jinx once was Powder. She sees a girl with pink hair and gets a flashback to Vi. This sets up the monsters in Jinx's head, the way that she reflects on those memories. Vi is drawn over, her voice ringing through Jinx's head. This flashback to her past causes her to lose control, firing manically, including on her own side, and ultimately loses them their supply of shimmer. In Silco's office, we see her again curled up on his desk, where Silco asks her for her side of the story. We see Jinx go from curled up and insecure to laughing and joking. Her emotions jump around very fast. We also get to see her relationship with Silco. Silco acts as a father and mentor to her. Many people interpret this relationship in a much darker light, interpreting it to be grooming or even pedophilia. Grooming, you could potentially say yes. Pedophilia, I have a hard disagree with that. Silco and Jinx's relationship is uncomfortable to watch. Yes, that's the point. Silco is the bad guy. Yes, he's a product of his environment like everyone else in the Undercity, but ultimately he is our villain. He's a kingpin criminal overlord. He does, however, have a soft spot for and look after Jinx. Where Silco is composed and grounded, Jinx is this loose cannon full of chaos. Jinx is everything that Silco can't be. Things like having Jinx leaning on Silco with her legs flung over his lap does seem kind of weird. It's to represent Jinx's childish nature. Yes, Jinx is too old to be sitting on his lap, and that's representative of her dependence. She plays with Silco's eyedropper device and flings around bombs and guns like it's all pretend. It's all a childlike fantasy to her. Silco being the one to do Silco's eye injection for him is symbolic of the trust between these two characters and will be used to show how their relationship wavers throughout this season. We then get to see Jinx alone in her lair in her own private space. She pulls tabs off of bombs and doesn't kick them away until the very last second, and lets her legs hang right off the edge of the blade. We then see her hanging doll of Clagger and her mannequin of Milo, the ghosts of which speak to her, and she does also speak back. She fears that Silco sees her as weak after her machine gun mishap today, and decides she will prove otherwise. She does this by setting a building on fire! She lures Caitlyn and other enforcers into this building, using the recording of like a scared little girl saying, "Please help me, I'm trapped! I'm a helpless little girl, and I set the building on fire. I also brought this dynamite. Goodbye! This is Caitlin's first moment of seeing Jinx's antics and also the design that she draws on the wall. Once again, this sets up Jinx's childishness in violence. When it's discovered that the gemstone is gone, she not only just takes the stone, but plasters the walls in her drawings and leaves behind this airship saying Happy Progress Day. Jinx reveals the real reason for her antics to Silco, showing him that she got the gemstone. She forces a hug out of him, and in this moment, the discordant violin that we associate with Powder plays. It's her childhood need for attention that is causing her to act. Things we've learned about Jinx in this episode. Jinx has not let go of the past, despite reclaiming this new name for herself. She still, however, has the same character motivation to prove herself as useful and not weak. Jinx is childish and immature, but has the trust of Silco. I'm going to say that at the end of this episode, the beginning of this arc, I'm going to say that Jinx is conflicted. Like, yes, this causes a pretty big jump, but we also need to remember that we skipped a lot of years in here, so that there's gonna be a bit of a jump. Episode 5. Jinx is experimenting, reading through Jace's boring and super boring notes to figure out how to use the crystal she stole. In an attempt to use it, she accidentally causes an explosion of arcane energy, giving her another flashback. She runs off exclaiming, "No, it was a mistake." She then visits the place that the gang used to play as kids. She encounters a crow there who she shoots with a chuckle. Crows are an omen of bad luck, sort of like a jinx. Crows will be used as a symbol and also foreshadowing of Jinx's tragedies and bad luck. An interesting detail, she also uses these crow's feathers as bookmarks later. Remember, Jinx is still trying to prove herself capable to Silco. If she's not useful to him, he might reject her, dealing her that same abandonment that Vi did. She uses the machine that Vi has all the old high scores on as a way to punch out this rage. She comes in second to Vi's high score. Silco claims that Jinx is the only one that can weaponize the Hex Tech. He can't trust anyone else with this. Jinx is doubtful of herself. "I keep seeing them. That day. You should just get the doctor to handle this." This is when Silco gives Jinx her baptism, lowering her into the waters he almost drowned in. The day that he let a weak man die and a stronger one take his place. Jinx needs to let Powder die. Jinx is perfect. By the end of this episode, Jinx has learnt how to harness and stabilize the crystal's power. Over the course of this episode, we see Jinx overcome her self-doubt through Silco, and as she begins to abandon her past, she grows stronger in the process. I'm going to say that she is more focused by the end of this episode. I also put that she's closer to Silco because I feel that this was a really big moment between these two characters. This moment of her letting go is working towards getting through that conflict between Powder versus Jinx, so I'm gonna raise her up, not all the way to optimistic, but just up a little bit, a little halfway mark. I think she's earned it. But here's the thing. The past never stays dead, does it? Jinx heads to the last drop, seated at the counter, getting served a drink from the cup that she used as Powder. Another sign she hasn't entirely let go of the past. She hounds the bartender, Theorem, or Chuck, or Risley from Genshin Impact if you're so inclined, about all the happenings that she's not involved with. This scene is peak Jinx, in my opinion. They just really nail her way of speaking. They got into a fight with Savika. They did a number on her. Oh really? Which number? She then heads up to Silco's office to confront Savika. Jinx has a trap waiting for her so she can tie her up and interrogate, but no worry. Savika is more than happy to share that Vi is back. Also sharing the detail that Vi is running around with an enforcer. Hearing of Vi's return, Jinx gets the flare that Vi gave her all those years ago, claiming, "Light it up and wherever you are, I will find you." Leading us into the guns for hire scene. Perhaps the most beautiful scene in the whole show. I just think it's beautiful. The rotating shot of Jinx holding the flare with Milo and Claggor screaming ghosts at her back. It's just beautiful. But let's stick to the script. A crow lands nearby as Jinx's flare runs out. Whenever the crows appear, the same core sound effect is used. And I think it's intentional to show sort of the repetition of Jinx's misfortune. Vi finds Jinx. They reunite, Jinx crying and admitting she's changed. When Jinx sees Caitlyn for the first time, this scene starts to go to hell. Savika implanted this thought that Vi replaced Jinx with this enforcer girl, and it's stuck in there. They're interrupted by the firelights. Vi sees Jinx's way of fighting. The mania and lack of self-care, fighting out of rage and not just survival. This is not the little girl she knew. Distracted, Vi is taken by the firelights. The crows were circling for a reason. The sisters were reunited, only to be torn apart again. The episode ends with Jinx calling out for Vi and screaming, "No." Where the last episode ended with Jinx deciding Powder is dead, she fell down a well. The return of Vi brings her internal struggle back to the surface and begins her distrust of Silco. Old ghosts have returned, and with that, we've gone from up to almost optimistic to back to conflicted. Her overall arc for this act is the overcoming of her self-doubt. However, as her trust in Silco is broken and with the return of Vi, those old ghosts just cannot stay dead, and she's back to her core conflict. Is she Powder or is she Jinx? Wow, what a great time for this pen to run out. Jinx's final season 1 act. Jinx limps her way to her lair, bleeding from her leg wound. Milo's voice haunts her, prompting her to get back at Caitlyn. She stares at herself in a broken mirror, her reflection split as she staples her leg back together through her pants. She grows still, looks at the firelight flying to the light, and aims her finger guns at it. In her darkest moments of mania, she always looks to an attack, a retaliation. Jinx finally confronts Silco directly, grabbing his eyedropper from his grasp, pinning him down. She says she's been chasing down dead ends. Guess what? They're not all dead. She gets his face with the injection, interrogating him for lying and not telling her about Vi. He tells her Vi and the Enforcer are back for the crystal, nothing else, demands that he is her family. Everyone else betrays us. Uncertainly, shakenly, Jinx puts his eye injection in for him, then disappears. She's still torn, but seems to be leaning towards Silco. On the bridge, Vi, Caitlyn and Echo prepare to bring the gemstone to Topside as a gesture of peace between the Undercity and Piltover. There, Jinx is waiting, there to derail everything. Jinx brings a fight of her own. Tiny explosive disguised as firelights. As Jinx enters the aftermath of the explosions, she hums the tune to Dear Friend across the river. Jinx opens fire on Vi and Caitlyn, and as they fly apart, Echo rises from the smoke to fight Jinx head to head. The Echo and Jinx Dynasties and Dystopia fight might be my favourite fight in the show. It oozes subtext. There was a deleted scene initially for season 1 that was going to have younger Echo going to rescue Powder from Silco, and ultimately failing. And honestly, you don't need it. You can see that these two characters were friends, even family, and are now on opposite sides of this battle. This flashback to their younger selves play fighting, cutting to their brutal battle in reality. It's just saddening. Echo has the lead, but hesitates for just a moment. Enough time for Jinx to deploy a bomb and blow them both up. Jinx has become increasingly self-destructive throughout the show, but this moment takes the cake, willing to take herself out just to win the fight. As Silco finds her, clutched in her palm, is the crystal. What did we learn about Jinx this episode? She's still torn between loyalties, but ultimately she seems forever won over by Silco. She fires at Vi in this scene, fights directly against Echo, fights against everything connected to her past. She's deep into her hallucinations and mania with no regard for her own safety. Jinx's arc is heading towards its darkest point. Act 3, I dare say she's a little more pessimistic at this point. Probably should have put that further towards negative, actually. Like the ASMR of writing on this wall. Episode 8. Jinx is on the brink of death. Silco, not being prepared to lose her, takes her to Singe to be saved. Saved by Shimmer. As she undergoes the torture of the procedure, she hallucinates Vi and Caitlyn, and even Powder. Jinx survives and runs off on her own. We don't see her again until the very end of this episode, as Caitlyn has a rueful shower thinking about what could have been with Vi. As she shuts the water off, the steam lifts to reveal Jinx's monkey drawing. It's the same one that Caitlyn saw at the scene of the fire. We see a glimpse of Jinx one eye lit up pink. I'm gonna put her still at a similar point because we didn't get to see a lot from her, but a little bit lower because she's, you know, slightly dead. I'm going to write on here that she's more powerful now because she has shimmer running through her veins. Let's jump into episode 9, because this is where all the major Jinx stuff happens. Jinx was already anguished and angry and now has shimmer running through her veins. She's more dangerous than ever. The next time we see Jinx, she's overhearing Silco thinking aloud of Vander's statue. He's been delivered his ultimatum by Jace. He's a nation of Zorn in exchange for Jinx. Silco ponders aloud, is there anything so undoing as a daughter? Vi has just won her epic badass fight with Savika, only for Jinx to appear behind her, bravo sis, and knock her out. As Topside argues over Jace's decision to broker a peace with Silco, as everyone's storyline reaches its climax, Jinx derails everything by hosting her tea party. You may or may not know this, but this is my favorite scene. So much so that I did an entire recreation of it single-handedly. I highly recommend going and watching that video after you're done with this one because it's pretty cool. The tea party is held at the old canning factory. This is the same place where Milo, Clagger, and Vander died, and where Silco betrayed Vander. Jinx monologues as Vi is tied up, confessing that Silco wasn't the one to make Jinx. Vi was. Admits that Vi never really left. She always heard her as whispers on the street, the voice in her head pushing her on. She lights up the scene, revealing the tea party table. Silco gagged at one end, her Milo and Clagadol seated at the table, and Vi at the other. The crows are also present, let's note. Jinx makes it clear that her trust in Silco, that was rock solid for so long, is gone. He took everything from us. Right here is where he stabbed Vander in the back. Just like he planned to do with me. Liar. Jinx brings Caitlyn to the party and has the I paid your girlfriend to visit this morning moment, which sets up that Caitlyn's beheaded head will be under the galosh, but really it's a cupcake. This moment to me is necessary to show that she still has her Jinxness even in the midst of this heavy scene. Now we're really into the meat and potatoes of this scene. Jinx's reason for this tea party is an ultimatum. She leaves it to Vi to choose. Is she Powder or is she Jinx? With 2 seats set up for each. Powder's chair is labelled with bright crayon drawings, the bunny next to it. Jinx is raw iron and decorated with crow's feathers. If Vi shoots Caitlyn, she can have Powder back. Jinx thinks in a very black and white way. Vi can't have 2 people in her life. She can only love Powder. Silco's contemplation means absolute betrayal. It's also worth noting that in the depths of her indecision, torn between 2 sides, she still turns to her older sister to make the choice. Vi can't shoot Kate. Jinx goes to do it herself, and Vi brings up the offer to just go. They'll leave and never come back. Jinx will never have to see Silco again. At this point, Vi still believes that Jinx is the way that she is because of Silco. Now it's Silco's chance to persuade her. Silco claims Vi is lying, will abandon her again. You're my daughter. I will never betray you. For a moment, Jinx is won over again, takes a step closer to him, but then Caitlyn interrupts, broken free from her restraints. Drop the gun! For a moment, all is a standstill. Vi pleads with Caitlyn not to do it. She's my sister. Jinx plays innocent, chuckling neatly, putting the gun down and raising her hands. The music changes to a circus-like tune. Jinx changes and lunges at Caitlyn. It's our first proper look at Jinx's capabilities on Shimmer. She is fast and dangerous. Jinx's ghosts take over. Vi yells for her to remember, but all those people, Mum, Dad, Vander, Clagger, Milo, are all painful and scary to Jinx. Silco yells not to listen. He grabs the gun, goes to shoot Vi to stop her. Jinx sees reality, sees Silco with a gun, and fires. This moment is a part of the climax of the show, and it's not a huge fight scene. It is a moment of emotional torment, and yet this moment is so intense. Who did she shoot? Silco's chair turns around to reveal he's been hit. Jinx didn't mean it. She's sorry. She's so sorry. Yet Silco tells her, don't cry. You're perfect. Jinx's curse has struck again. She acted without thinking. Vi tries to tell her that they'll be okay, but it's like Jinx can't hear it. For a moment you wonder if she might lash out, act recklessly. But instead, Jinx takes her seat at Jinx's chair. This look that she gives to this camera, this frame right here, maybe my favorite moment in the entire show. It's brilliant, okay? I thought, maybe you could love me like you used to, even though I'm different. But you changed too. So, here's to the new us. Powerful, powerful dialogue there. It's basically her finally separating herself from Vi. We need to talk about what this scene means. This is a new version of Jinx, one we haven't seen before. She isn't tied to anyone. Silco, the person she relied on for answers and assurance, is dead. She killed him. She's just accepted that Vi won't love this new version of her. Vi and Jinx can't be Vi and Powder. This is Jinx acting independently for the first time. It may be her wanting to fulfill Silco's legacy, or it may be this is just what she wants to do. Jinx has always acted recklessly, a loose cannon, but this seems calculated. She's focused. Silco's voice echoes as she fires the gun. We'll show them. We'll show them all. The first promise he made to her when they first met. She takes Fishbones, the weapon complete, and fires on the council. This is the moment that Topside is feared, that someone would take the stolen hex tech and weaponize it. In this moment, Jinx represents all of the broken Undercity, screaming, furious, her anger directed at the oppressors. Season 1 ends. What a moment. Okay, so where we last marked Jinx off, she was between pessimistic and negative. We've had a pretty big change in the fact that she seems more decisive on that inner conflict. Would I say that she's positive? No, but it's really hard to map this moment out because she's just proactive now. I'm gonna mark her as pessimistic but up a little bit. Keep it close. So this funky little line is our season 1 arc. So it goes from Powder, optimistic and up here, down to the depths, up again as Jinx going back and forth a little bit as she has this character spiral towards where she could go, and then up at the end as she redeems herself by acting independently. Episode 3, I'm just gonna write one thing for her to sum this up. She's Jinx now. So we had episode 1, scared, desperate to prove herself, close with Vi. Episode 3, Jinx. Season 1 has ended. Who will live? Who will die? Most importantly, where does Jinx go from here? I had like 3 years to contemplate this and where I thought her character was going to go from here. So I'm speaking from the contemplations I had waiting between seasons 1 and 2. Will she go back to being a chaotic agent of evil, or will she go down a different path, taking up Silco's mantle and leading the Undercity to revolution? Both are genuine options for this character. We've seen this character get more serious, but ultimately she's still Jinx, who plays with bombs and commits arson. So which type will be more prominent? Who is Jinx free of Silco and Vi? What does season 2 have in store for us? We'll have to wait a whole episode to find out. She's not in the first episode. But anyway, it makes sense structurally, it's fine. What we do get to see of her is in the show's new intro. Many of the characters also bear symbolism to classical works. Caitlyn's hands above her head make the shadow of a crown representing Hamlet. Victor's mask is reminiscent of Phantom of the Opera. Jinx is waving a flag reminiscent of the cover of Les Mis, the story of the French Revolution. So Jinx is going down the path of revolution and fighting Topside. Surely, right? Also, y'all are so lucky I'm not doing this video on Vile Caitlyn's arcs, because they are so messy from the get-go. My gosh. Anyway, on to episode 2. we get our opening line from Jinx. Well, it's all going to shit. Jinx is burying Silco in an underwater funeral. The water is very symbolic to both of these characters. Silco's drowning, being the moment he was reborn into a stronger man, and also Jinx is baptized by him in the same water. Now it is her letting him sink into its depths. Next we see our Undercity music video, Sucker. When looking at the Arcane Season 1 soundtrack, some songs are for certain characters, or at the very least have a very strong association with the characters. A lot of the songs we associate with Jinx are sadder ones, with Goodbye and What Could Have Been, with melancholy lyrics about loss and reminiscing. I am the monster you created. Why don't you love who I am? Let's look at the lyrics to Sucker, a song that plays as Jinx walks through the lane surrounded by the rivalries of the Chem Barons. Get the fuck out of my head. So long, sucker. I don't want to see you. I hate this life. Good luck killing me because I'm already dead inside. Those are some very intense things to say. We received a total of one scene of Jinx being entirely on her own, interrupted by Isha falling into her lap. I am stealing so many other people's words that when I say that Isha is a plot device and not much more, but we will go more into that later. Jinx tells her, do you feel that? That buzzing behind your eyes? Because you know in a moment it could all... I love the animation of the gunsmoke spelling out pow, because it adds a real fun playfulness. It's a touch of Jinx in there. She looks to her wanted poster and says, yep, that's me, in this dejected sounded voice. It contrasts the same line said in Season 1 in an entirely upbeat tone, where she proudly proclaims, that's me! So we've set up that Jinx is a much darker version of this character from the get-go. Jinx is hanging out in Silco's office, where Savika also is. Both of these characters left wondering what to do now Silco is gone. When Savika asks, so what do we do now? Jinx responds, watch it all burn. Jinx decides to make Savika a new fancy arm. She harvests parts from the old gang hangout spot, this same spot now being interrupted by Vi and the Enforcer gang, filling it with the grey. Jinx is left crying and screaming after the encounter, both from the pain of the gas and also the pain of this new information that Vi is actively working with the Enforcers to get Jinx. She's then held up by Smeech's crew, who have been following her. Cornered, she brags about killing Silco. Apparently, this isn't public knowledge. Jinx says, it's always me. Whether I'm pulling the pin or not, everyone who gets close to me dies. Clearly, still haunted by her Jinx curse. Savika's arm is the most Jinx-like thing to come out of maybe even the entirety of Season 2. It explodes fireworks, plays her theme song, has this slot device that rigs this game of chance as to what attack you get. Season 2 Savika with that arm is legitimately one of my dream cosplays. When Savika questions why Jinx fixed up the arm, Jinx shrugs and says it was something she could fix. Her next plan? To finish off what's left of her family. And that's episode 2. So what did we learn about Jinx? She's still lost. She's wandering from moment to moment. Savika appears to be her only ally, and her only plan is this hatred of Vi. I can understand that Jinx is rageful seeing Vi working with the Enforcers, but the jump between episodes from so here's to the new us to I'm going to finish off what's left of my family is a pretty big jump. We can follow where it stems from, but it's a pretty big leap. I'm going to say that on our graph, she's probably gone down again. I'm also going to mark that she's lost. Lost, uncertain, and vengeful is how I'd mark her for this episode. Episode 3. Now it's time for the To Ashes and Blood fight. Jinx has lured Vi and Caitlyn into this underground location surrounded by drawings representing Jinx's childhood, being powder. Jinx confronts Vi about her use of the Grey, working with the Enforcers who killed their parents. Vi says that Jinx is not her sister and is tarnishing her sister's memory. We are throwing around bold words. Jinx threatens, go ahead and stop me, because no matter what I do, I just can't seem to die. This is a new side to Jinx. We haven't seen this idea before. She's bothered by the fact that people around her have died and she hasn't. Then we get down to the fight. Neither sister is holding back against the other. Vi has already established that they're going in to potentially kill Jinx. When Vi has Jinx pinned down, Jinx says, "Go ahead. I'm ready. I'm glad it's you. Had to be you." It's a much darker side of the character from what we've seen. From a writing stance though, it almost makes her fight seem pointless if she's so willing to die. What is she really fighting for then? Is she fighting for revenge? Is she so desperate to take down Vi she's willing to take out herself? Jinx's motivation has become a bit uncertain to the audience as well. The only reason Vi doesn't kill Jinx and stops Caitlyn from doing so is because Isha gets in the way. Jinx seems so disappointed that she wasn't killed. Savika flicks this kill switch which collapses the area, letting them get away, and also releases these paint bombs up on topside. So I'm gonna say, considering that Jinx was willing to die this episode, she's dropped down again. I'm gonna put her below negative at this stage because that is a very rough mindset to be in. Let's have a little chat. I'm okay with Jinx being a darker version of her character. I think that's necessary at this point, but I'm not a fan of the choice of making her suicidal. In season 1, she did actions that could have resulted in her own death, but they came across as much more thoughtless and in the spirit of the moment, but those actions came across as a lot more erratic and unconscious. Season 2 has shown her to have suicide ideation. It's just not satisfying following up from what we've seen. It's not what we were leading up to, and so it feels very flat and disappointing. She's just accepted her identity of Jinx, and the Undercity is in chaos. It's gone like full Gotham City, all these different sides fighting. And instead of being a proactive character actively involved and showing us what's going on in the Undercity, because she's pretty much the only character left loyal to it, she just feels sad to watch. I will go into a full spiel about why Jinx's suicidal nature bothers me at the end of this video. Honestly, Savika's renegade fight is like the redeeming factor in all of this. Act 2. Act 2 opens on Paint the Town Blue. The paint bombs deployed in Piltover occurred while the Undercity is ravaged by turf wars and left without a leader. This Paint the Town Blue scene makes it clear people have seen Jinx as another person to follow. They cause anarchy, donning blue hair and punk look for themselves. Jinx has become a symbol of the Undercity. This works, Jinx stepping into role as a symbol and potential leader of the Undercity. Taking up Silco's mantle, Savika as her right-hand man, her followers causing further disruption to the system. Except it doesn't work. Because no one in the Undercity really liked Jinx before this point. Everyone wanted to hand her in after her destruction of the council. Then suddenly, the paint bombs change everyone's tune. Apparently. We open on Jinx narrating a bug battle. On first watch you might think maybe she's running like a Undercity betting rink or something, but it's just her and Isha playing. It's silly, but it feels forced in a way that I just can't put into words. Jinx comes across as playful because she acts silly while doing serious things like killing someone. So scenes of her interacting with a child almost don't work. Also, Jinx and Isha are now just instantly bonded, like best buds. The last we saw of these two characters, Isha was clinging to Jinx and Jinx was like pushing her off, was like, get off of me. Now they're hanging out at Jinx's lair, fighting bugs and having fun. When did this happen? It happened in the vague time skip that I still can't work out how long of a time skip it's supposed to be between episode 3 and episode 4. So it just happens off screen, I guess. Jinx does Isha up in this Jinx-inspired look as promised. Jinx comments, "You're lucky. I didn't get to do much of this with my older sis." So that implies Jinx sees Isha as a younger sister? When did this happen? There's no follow through of where we left off in the last scene. We last saw Jinx upset that she didn't die. And so this contrast is so stark. I believe she could get herself out of that and to a point where maybe she could bond with a child, but I can't believe it when I didn't see it happen. She also says, I had a different name, you know, Powder. Thought I was rid of her for good, but you kind of remind me of her. Tell, don't show, am I right? Now, if you thought I was mad about Jinx's character arc so far, get ready, because I'm about to get more mad. Isha appears to be encouraging Jinx to go and join the fight to rally against Topside, and Jinx turns it down, throwing a rogue bullet at a decapitated Fishbones, saying, Jinx is dead. I'm so sorry, but what the fuck happened in that time skip we didn't get to see? What do you mean Jinx is dead? We spent an entire tea party establishing that she is Jinx. What happened? And why didn't we get to see it? After Isha's stun of pretending to be Jinx, which, how the hell did that kid pull this off? Savika, looking hot as hell, may I add, also encourages Jinx to show up. They're having a rally at Vanda's statue. This is your chance to unite the underground. You're a symbol. Jinx again once declines, leaving the room claiming, I have to go bother someone. That someone is Silco's chair. Jinx monologues to him about not wanting to be a hero or part of a revolution, that she finally has something going, a friend, and she doesn't want to mess it up. After Silco's obvious silence, Jinx says, I guess you're really gone. It's hard to believe that Jinx still has some denial about Silco being dead when she's mentioned killing him several times. This arc of not wanting to lead the Undercity because it means Silco's really dead could work, but structurally it's just a bit off. As an audience, we're already led to believe that she's accepted it already. We've kind of already moved on from Silco. It's a surprise that this is her real reason. It's hard to believe that the character who chose to bomb the council would rather now go play house with the kid she just met. Isha does attend the rally and is arrested. Savika crawls to Jinx, missing her badass arm, and tells her what happened. Jinx instantly erupts into an episode, confronted by ghosts and memories, similar to what we've seen before, but the ghosts are different to what we've seen previously. Jinx's ghosts were always Milo and Clagger, especially Milo, or we do see ghosts of her parents during the tea party scene. These drawings we see are these bright squiggly monsters. In these season 2 ghosts, we have the addition of Silco, which is very interesting. He's drawn a lot more literally than the other ghosts. It's pretty clear it's him. Interestingly, Vi is also among the ghosts now. And amongst these monsters in this particular scene is Savika and Isha too. In this moment, she feels her curse is struck again, and it's touched Savika and Isha, the only people left close around her. What really stands out that in the voices playing, which was usually either Milo or Vi, it's Jinx's own voice talking to her. She also has the drawings, which are used to cover up what's happening, drawn on her own face. Sort of like the idea that she sees herself as a monster too. Her own voice says, you have to be someone else. This line sort of goes hand in hand for me in the Jinx is dead line, in the sense of, am I supposed to know what we're talking about here? What does you have to be someone else mean? Spoiler, it never comes up again. I guess maybe she thinks she's gonna be someone entirely new now, that's not Jinx or Powder, now that Isha's in her life, but that's a crazy jump for a kid you just met. We then cut to Jinx going to rescue Isha. There's no scene of Jinx calming down from her attack, or a scene of her deciding to go do this. We're just here now. Which, that feels very off to me, because do you know what happened the last time Jinx decided to go rescue someone? Milo and Clagger died. This could have been a moment of her deciding to defy her curse by deliberately going to do some good, but we get no in-between scene between her freak out and the rescue to truly understand her thoughts going into this. Jinx's plans are always traps and chaos. It's bombs and devices. So almost everything about Jinx leading this rescue feels off. Predominantly the fact that she goes undercover as an enforcer. I do feel that if Jinx put on an enforcer uniform, her skin would burst into flames, you know? And if they wanted to make that a point, that Jinx was taking this more seriously than usual because she really cares about Isha, then they really should have made it a point. Guys, I hate to be a hater. I know I'm making that a hard case for myself to believe. But I really do, and I hate to spoil someone's fun. But I am going to go off topic to be a hater because I hate the what's wrong with my pants joke. Recap. Jinx goes up to an enforcer to hand herself in so she can get inside Stillwater, rescue everyone. The enforcer doesn't believe she's the real Jinx because would Jinx, the mastermind criminal, wear pants like that? The whole bit makes no sense because Jinx's face has been plastered everywhere for this entire season. And she clearly matches the picture. And you want to tell me Miss Caitlin out for revenge Kierman didn't give every enforcer a detailed description of what Jinx looks like? Anyway, I'm done with that tangent. To contrast my hatership, here's a scene I actually like. Jinx frees the prisoners, and in turn, each of the Jinxes pass her and touch her shoulder. A silent thank you and acknowledgement. This is the moment it becomes real for Jinx. Her leadership can be performed just by being present. This is possibly the first moment in her life when she's done some real good and been thanked. It's a big moment and a big step forward in this arc of Jinx potentially becoming a leader. Not only were there Jinxes arrested, but also Firelights and all the other groups too. We also see Babette, a character who knew Powder, Jinx as a child, and she gives her a warming pat on the hand. She seems proud. The scene is intriguing as a viewer because we're back to wondering, ooh, so where will Jinx go now? Isha is rescued and they share a tender moment. All is interrupted by a big bad wolf. How did the big bad wolf take the elevator? I will never know, but it's here and we're fighting it. Jinx orders Savika to get Isha out of there because she's going to try and hold her off. I do quite like this fight because it is essentially two of Singer's creations fighting each other. And also the soundtrack slaps. Suddenly, the badass music shifts to a very familiar tune. Dear Friend Across the River. This is a modified Vanda. This was one of those things where the League fans knew it was coming, and in the lead up to season 2, when the teasers came out, everyone was like, Warwick is Vanda, guys! And I was left going, huh? This moment is still so shocking and powerful, but also still, huh? Because, but what do you mean? It's just a spanner in the works. That was all one episode. Jinx is now besties with Isha, who wants Jinx to fight for the Undercity, but Jinx doesn't want to fight for the Undercity. Isha being arrested forces Jinx to act and become a big fat hero for those in Stillwater, only for this moment to be interrupted by a big bad wolf who was actually once Vanda. On to episode 5. Vi is a mess and is taken up fighting and drinking. In her mess of a head, when she first sees Jinx in her room, as an audience, we kind of just assume it's a hallucination. No, it's real. Vi grabs Jinx by the throat. Remember, the last time these two were together, they were kind of trying to kill each other. Jinx believes that it's Vanda, that he needs both of their help. After hesitating, Vi lets go of her. Vi follows Jinx, and on the way they see this mural. This mural shows Jinx as sort of like a herald, white doves flying, plumes of colourful smoke by her feet, and Vanda an angel at her shoulder. This is probably the most un-Jinx-like way you could ever portray her. But anyway, they begin to bicker on the journey, and Jinx claimed that she's a hero now, breaking out half of Stillwater while Vi was passed out in a mug, and that she kicked Vi's ass last time. Jinx slaps Vi, they fight, Isha gets hit, and that's what breaks up the fight. I think Isha constantly being the thing to break up fights is a way to show Vanda's ideology that conflict only continues the cycle of violence and the innocents will always get hurt. But it just comes across as kind of convenient that she always gets in the way to diffuse conflict. Vi then questions why Jinx would need her help. This is Jinx's answer. Last time Vanda needed us, we tried it alone, and nothing was ever the same. So, maybe this is like a do-over. Besides, he's your father too. What we saw of Powder and Vanda never really implied that they were close. This is the first time we've ever seen Jinx or Powder refer to Vanda as a father. This sudden, let's have a do-over on behalf of Vanda feels off again. Vi and Jinx's relationship is so complex at this point. The idea of a do-over just feels impossible. How can you do over being abandoned by one another, still being sisters yet being on opposite sides of a conflict, then actively trying to kill each other? But anyway, I'll let them cook. Vi and Jinx discover a letter from Vander to Silco that Silco never discovered, and I genuinely feel that this letter adds nothing to the plot. Vi fights off an enraged Vander/Warwick only to hesitate. Vander suddenly remembers who he is and instead hugs her. Vi invites Jinx into the hug, saying, "What are you waiting for? He's your dad too." I'm going to wait until the end of this arc, one more episode, to go into my full thoughts on the Vander things. So we're going to go into episode 6. Oh, I forgot to update my chart, hang on. I'm going to say that she's doing a lot better. I'm still going to put it near confliction. Episode 2, she's reunited. I'm going to put Powder ? Because I feel like she's tending to go more back towards Powder, which is so crazy because we spent her entire arc of season 1 resolving that she's not Powder anymore. Anyway, the new gang, Vi, Jinx, Isha, and Wolfie, Warwick, go to Victor's commune to see if Victor can help Vander. There is no moment of them deciding to do this or how they got there, just keep up. We get my favorite dialogue of maybe this entire season. Victor, I have one condition. Jinx, looks like you got a couple. Followed by Victor calling her Powder and dead naming her. I hate to say, but I think that ableist joke was the most natural Jinx dialogue we got. As Victor digs through Vander's memories, Vi and Jinx have a moment reflecting on their parents. The pair reminisce about them, talking about the smell of their mother. Vi contemplates if they should stay in this place, help them out, together. It seems like we've made amends. Bad news though, Mbessa and Sind want Warwick. The peace of the commune is broken, Jace entering to kill Victor and stop Hextech, and Mbessa laying war to the place. War breaks out over Warwick. Jinx is hurt by him. Isha then steps in. She has Isha's gun. She has the hex crystals in her pocket. Just like little Powder all those years ago. Isha fires on Warwick, killing both herself and Warwick. And that is the end of Act 2. I'm going to say this now, for every critique I make about Isha, I will still confess, I still cried a second time watching this scene. It is beautifully done and tragically sad. That poor badass little kid. Let's review Season 2, Act 2. Act 2 starts with our Paint the Town Blue arc and ends with Vander dying again. There was such a focus on Jinx and her role in the Undercity, and the second that Warwick showed up, that plot arc was entirely abandoned. In fact, we didn't really see the Undercity at all, unless you count like the commune, which I would not. We also had our Jinx proclaiming Jinx is dead moment, which as a viewer made no sense. Because who are we following now if not Jinx? Having Jinx go back to Vander and Vi feels like going backwards instead of forwards. We were so invested in Jinx as this savior of the Undercity, and now we're playing Happy Family for one episode, and now said Happy Family is destroyed again. Isha is a reflection of Powder, mirroring the same events as Powder's story in Season 1. This is done to reflect the concept of cycles, which is shown throughout the show. But we kind of already get the idea of cycles. I don't know if we needed another example of it. The cycle of violence, the base violence necessary for change. Silco dies, a new violent crime lord takes his place, etc. Isha and the whole arc of the commune was also another example of what could have been. Once again, I don't think this is something we needed another example of. Vi and Jinx being enemies is the what could have been that runs throughout the entire show. Any moment of conflict or betrayal between these two is the what could have been. Jason, Victor, even Caitlyn and Vi are also examples of this. I don't understand what Isha was ultimately showing us. Losing Vander would have been enough of a loss in this arc, so she doesn't necessarily fit in there either. Isha was just a device put in to keep Jinx stable. But Jinx as a leader of the Undercity, or even just Jinx being alone and independent, was a much more interesting concept to me. And instead, Isha became her only thing that was a motivation. But other than protecting Isha, I have no clue what Jinx's motivations as a character are anymore. And now Isha is gone, we're back to square one. Where does Jinx go from here? Season 2, Act 3. I have a low camera battery and 22 minutes left of recording time, so we're just gonna see how we go. Lucky for the sake of this video's length though, episode 7, Jinx is not present for. This is the alternate universe episode. We could go into how AU powder represents Jinx, but I'm just not going to because this video is already so long. Episode 8. Following the incident, Jinx is arrested, kept in Kate's temporary holding cell. Jinx's first line of this arc is, "If you're here to kill me, make sure you finish the job." We're clearly back in a state more like what we saw in Act 1. Jinx is rugged, her hair is out and cascaded around her, she's digging her nails into her skin. She even acknowledges to Caitlyn, "I didn't know your mum was there." From this moment of Jinx in her cell, we can see she's hit rock bottom. We have yet to see her this low. I'm in fact going to mark this out now, because I think it's pretty clear. We can't go any further from here. Both of her potential plot arcs, both of Leader of the Undercity and that of living with her family again, have just been broken by her grief. She's confronted by Silco's ghost, who monologues on the cycles of killing that started long before him and Vander or Vi and Jinx. He guides her that the cycle will only end when she finds the will to walk away. Jinx is tired, broken by everything. Vi comes to break her out, pleading that if Jinx fights for good, they may be able to plead her case. Jinx instead locks Vi up, claiming she's going to break the cycle. At this point, you can assume Jinx is either going to maybe stay out of the fight as her way of breaking the cycle, but this is such a huge character, she can't just spend the last fight sitting on her hands, right? So what does this walking away mean? Episode 9. Once again, Jinx's emotions are portrayed by the song that plays around her, this one being Wasteland. This world is a wasteland where nothing can grow. Please let me go. Jinx returns to the last drop again, for the last time, trailing gasoline behind her and setting fire to Silco's office and the last drop with it. Remember, this is the place where she grew up. This was Vander's bar, then Silco's. There's so much history here. She then goes to her lair, bomb in hand, ready to blow herself up. Jinx's idea of breaking the cycle is to take herself out of it. Thankfully, she is talked down by Echo, only thanks to his time travel ability, which gives him multiple chances. Thanks to what he's learnt in the alternate universe, he wants to try and reach her again. This is another case of, well, the last time these two characters interacted, they were trying to kill each other. These two haven't seen each other since the bridge scene. In the soundtrack version of the song Wasteland, the final chorus has alternate lyrics with "Don't let me go" instead of "Please let me go." This line is never played in the show, but I think it's still worth mentioning. We are at our final fight, the final battle to save humanity. While I would have rather this have been a fight to save the Undercity, that's a whole other discussion, we don't have time. This final fight is pretty awesome though, I will admit. When all seems bleak for our heroes, Jinx arrives in a flying aircraft, Echo in the firelights in tow. Also, Savika and the Undercity are there too. There is no scene to explain why these characters chose to join the fight. They are just there. Jinx and Echo look awesome. Jinx's hair is all cut, her hood represents fish bones, creating the idea that she herself is the weapon. She's not just relying off a external tool. The flying contraption also has bunny ears in honor of Isha. It is a big jump to believe that Jinx went from believing the only way to stop the violence was to end her life, to her suddenly being willing to join the fight to save humanity. But we'll save that for the full review. Vi and Jinx are once again fighting Warwick. They've crashed in the hazardous rubble of a ruined hex gate. They stand back to back. You still don't get it. I'm always with you even when we're worlds apart. I like the sentiment. But once again, feels like a huge jump. With the final battle finished, Vi and Jinx are still in a pretty precarious position. They are stranded with Warwick. Warwick and Vi are on an unstable ledge, Jinx watching from above. Vi hesitates to get away from him, the emotions just overcoming her. No one asks Jinx to act in this moment. Of her own free will, willing to save her sister, she jumps in to save Vi, dangled off the edge of a ledge with Warwick hanging onto her foot. She looks to Vi one last time. Always with the assist. And then let's go. Wasteland plays again, playing the lyrics "Please let me go." Vander and Jinx fall, an explosion finishing them off. Vi is distraught. This is where the video essay is going to split, because there are two versions of this ending for Jinx. One where yes, Jinx died, and the other where she didn't. The evidence for Jinx being alive, the pink streak leaving the explosion, Caitlyn saying our story isn't over and then reviewing maps of the Undercity, aka ways Jinx could have escaped. Our final show depicts a flying aircraft and has Jinx's artwork flash back up. Remember Powder's line all the way back in episode 1? One day I'm going to ride in one of those things. I'm going to do my review of the final arc looking at both options. Jinx starts this act all the way down here at rock bottom. Broken and grief-stricken, she now believes the only way to break the cycle is for her to walk away from it by dying. She attempts to take her own life, only for Echo to intervene. Jinx ends up joining our final battle. This battle leads her to giving up her own life for Vi's, or potentially leaving it to pursue a life away from Vi and everyone. I have a very specific pet peeve about this. I don't like when suicidal characters sacrifice themselves. The point of a character sacrifice, from a writing perspective, is the shock of it, and the tragedy that someone has to give up their life and the bravery that they were willing to do it. When the character doing this doesn't want their life to begin with, it feels more like giving them an excuse to end their life. And I think you have to be so careful with this, because you don't want to give the impression that suicide is something brave and sacrificial. It is just something that is never the answer. I bookmarked earlier that I would go more into why Jinx's suicide in nature bothered me, and I think now is the time. From a writing perspective, it's unsatisfying to watch. This was a fan favorite character who we had seen go through tragedy before, but the result of that was a character with a broken psyche, yes, who was still enjoyable and complex. Watching her go from Jinx to this shell of herself, dead set on blowing herself up, was just saddening to watch. I'm not saying you can't do this with characters, or that it's wrong, but it delivers a particularly uncomfortable emotion. The other issue is that Jinx is a character with mental health struggles, most reminiscent of BPD. While I like Jinx because I think she's an awesome character, other people are really attached to Jinx because they see them as a representation of something they struggle with. I've seen before people highlight the scene where Powder is having the violent breakdown when Vi leaves without her, and have been like, yeah, that's what it feels like. Mental health is barely represented as it is, and to have a character who some people saw as representation for their mental illness and take that character and have them continually try to end their own life and then also potentially die would have been really upsetting. I was upset by Jinx's death just as an audience member, as an enjoyer of the show, so I can only imagine like how much that would hurt. And I know that I have no real right to speak on this topic, and a lot of this is just my own opinion, but it just puts a bad taste in my mouth. Let's look at the alternate ending. Jinx faked her death. We have death down here, which I think counts as rock bottom. I think Jinx having a new start on life would potentially be a more optimistic ending for her character. I don't mind this in concept, I just think it would have been better, more powerful, if Jinx had have told Vi. A scene of Jinx saying to Vi that she's leaving Piltover, leaving behind all her old ghosts, would have been more powerful for both of these characters, a moment to accept that they just can't live with each other anymore. Instead, Vi is just forced to grieve another person. My overall review of Jinx's entire arc is that it's just not satisfying. It's not even conclusive. Yes, this character is sporadic and compulsive, but it's possible to give her a clear arc because they started that way. In season 1, her actions really closely reflect her mental state. It reflects who she trusts, whose side she's on, her motivations. We can see her arc through her actions. Jinx at the beginning of season 2 does not follow on from the end of season 1, in my opinion. It should have been a chance for Jinx to embrace herself and her independence. Instead, she is still lost and wondering, acting from moment to moment. Her motivations are so unclear in season 2. Initially, we're following this journey of will she become a leader of the Undercity, then we're following her family arc. Okay, if we're doing this family thing now, never mind, family's gone, we're at rock bottom. It just doesn't, there's no flow to that. It is literally up, down, up, down, up, down. After one conversation with Echo, she joins the fight. But for who? To save Vi? To help Echo? To save humanity overall? We can't tell. Her arc ends either with her dying or faking her death. We're left guessing. What's ultimately unsatisfying is that we're following a character who isn't interested in her own actions. Jinx becomes a symbol of the Undercity, but is ultimately disinterested in it, pushed into it, pressured. So what's her actual motivation? And if her only motivation is her own self-destruction, that's not something we can root for. The thing that made her trauma so interesting was the way that it manifested, by being Jinx. Season 2 Jinx is everything that Season 1 Jinx wasn't, and it's just a drag to see. Looking at our graph, we can literally see the up and down nature of her arc and this split ending, which leaves us undecided on, is it this grim arc or is it this uplifting one of breaking out of cycles and discovering a new life for yourself? We just don't know. I mean, a lot of people argue that it is canon that she survived, but whatever. And with that, I think you get a pretty good idea about how I feel about all this. I filmed this video constantly battling my dying camera battery, my own sweatiness, and the fact that my SD card is also about to run out. This was a really ambitious project, even by my standards. I was supposed to film 2 other videos today and Jinx as well. I don't think I will get to them because this is about over 2 hours of footage. Who let me yap about Arcane? Who let me do it? So thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video, if you watched this entire thing. That makes me so excited and really happy. So big thank yous. I have a lot of other Arcane content. Really early in this year, I did like a month of Arcane where I made a CMV, I did my tea party recreation, so please go check out my other Arcane content because I really think you'd like it. If you want to see more Arcane video essays, either on a smaller scale or the same scale as this one, please let me know as well. And I think with that, all that is left is to thank you for your time, your attention, and your support. I can't believe I finally finished this video, except for the fact I need to go edit it. Goodbye! I can finally leave! Martha, I'm coming home, sweetie!